Hey guys, welcome to episode 17 of The End of Everything. Today we have the lovely Jorge Valle with us.
Hi.
He's a fellow expert in the digital realm, a colleague from Weta Workshop, and in digital visualization for architecture. Our sort of gig at the moment, and he's far better at it than we are. So yeah, we are willing to learn, and he's going to share today a little bit about himself, and we're just going to talk a little bit about the visualization process, the industry, and everything surrounding that, I suppose.
Yeah, the future of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
all sort of things.
Oh yes, good things to come.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it'd be really good first if you just give a little bit of a introduction into your background, how you got into this sort of thing, and how you became a computer wizard.
Yeah,
Magical journey.
Yeah, so, well, I come from Spain,
Mhm.
Yeah. From a little town in Spain, and when I was back there, I studied industrial design,
Okay.
and I was working in a furniture manufacturing company. We might need subtitles for this podcast, by the way, because there are a lot of things that I cannot pronounce properly. So.
No, it makes it sound better. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds more worldwide.
Yeah.
Mr. Worldwide. So yeah, I started working at this furniture manufacturing company, and at the beginning it was a bit of like graphic design and like furniture design,
Mm.
but eventually it became more of a 3D artist role as well, because we needed to make like images for the catalogs and everything,
Yeah.
for the websites, and a few animations to showcase some like mechanisms and things like that.
Yeah.
So I started getting into that and like quite a lot, and I was liking it quite a lot. So I was like kind of moving more to the 3D art part than the product design part. I was doing kind of the both at the same time, but I was getting definitely more interested in that part, and it was really cool because I got to learn a lot while working, and I worked for 2 years there. And eventually, after 2 years, I really thought that I wanted to improve. I wanted to become like a better 3D artist. I wanted to make things look more realistic and like just know all the details or all the tricks or whatever. And it was at that point that I decided to just leave the job and come here to New Zealand.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the goals when I first moved here was like working at Weta Workshop eventually.
Yeah.
Which I eventually got, yeah.
Nice. Spoiler.
Yeah. Like goal.
Yeah.
But funny thing, on the way, I got a job in architectural visualization.
Yeah.
But I got the job because the first year that I was here in New Zealand, I took kind of like a sabbatical year. So I spent 1 year at the beginning just traveling all around, learning English, because I was shit at it. I couldn't speak at all. And during that year, it was just like I always wanted to have that break, like that sabbatical, learning the language, learning the skills of the 3D art and 3D visualization. So I spent, I think it was like 6 months or probably more, building a portfolio. That at the beginning I had this idea of like building a 3D studio where I would showcase everything I can do and like had an animation inside. And the idea got more complex and complex, and eventually it got out of hand. It took a long time to do. But it was cool because at the same time I was learning all the tricks, all the 3D.
And like for those who haven't seen it already, like Jorge has the most amazing website / CV.
We'll put it in the link.
It is. I mean, yeah, it might have taken just 6 months, but it's worth it. Like, it is
really
so good,
awesome.
and it's eventually probably contributed a lot to you getting to Weta and stuff, like getting attention and stuff. I reckon. Yeah.
Well, you probably know a lot about that.
Well, yeah. I hired you, so.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Yeah, no.
So were you making that while you were traveling?
I started doing it while traveling because I only had my laptop, and I was actually traveling from hostel to hostel.
Yeah.
And it was funny because people like at the hostels you usually stay there for 1 week or like a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And they usually saw this nerd just working on the laptop all day while everyone was just like watching TV and stuff. And it was like, what the fuck are you doing? Don't bother me. I have a goal. And
I've got to get into it.
So yeah, but it was cool because I had like it was a really good balance between like traveling and place and hiking awesome. And going to parties and then just walking a lot.
Because actually when you're traveling, like often you do have downtimes where you're just like, oh, I don't know what to do right now, you know? Especially when you're doing it for like months and months and months, it's quite nice to still have like a bit of structure to your day and do a bit of work or do something productive and then go off and enjoy yourself.
Why did you choose New Zealand? Was it mostly because of weather, or?
It was in part because of weather, but since I was a child, I've always loved like the Lord of the Rings, when I was a child, the landscapes, and I played rugby back in Spain.
Oh yeah.
And in Spain, it's really not popular at all. It's because football there is like a religion.
Yeah.
But rugby is like.
Oh, you'd be very unpopular.
Everyone in Spain thinks that rugby is American football, so that's the kind of level that we have there. And so I don't know, like I was just an All Blacks supporter since I was a child, like back at home, like watching the All Blacks playing. So I've always wanted, and I always wanted to learn English because I think it was really important for kind of like my future, like my career, let's say. English is like you need it to go anywhere. To talk to companies or to talk to anyone nowadays.
It's such a thing you take for granted that, you know, as an English speaker, you just you're right, you know, like if you want to work anywhere internationally or in the growing international world, like you just need English, eh? You're just like, that's handy that we can.
Well, I mean, it's just us talking to all these people in the Ukraine and things like that, to try and outsource work or get more work and stuff. Like the expectation is they're learning English. We don't have to learn Russian or whatever it might be. You know?
Exactly.
It's a huge advantage, isn't it?
So true. Yeah. I mean, I had a good future in South America if I wanted to.
There you go.
That's part, that's the perks of speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
But I always thought that English, like I had to learn English. So with all those ingredients, I thought like New Zealand was the perfect destination. And it was quite difficult to get here because we only get like 200 visas a year in Spain. So only 200 people can come per year with a working holiday visa.
That's bizarre.
And it was quite a challenge.
More than that.
And I actually lost, like, it's the 200 fastest people that apply for the visa, and it just like you have to be. I actually was practicing 2 weeks just filling the form on the computer because you have to do it live in that moment.
No.
And I actually lost it. Like I lost because my internet connection was shit. So I lost the place. I lost the connection went down, and in 5 minutes all the visas were gone.
No way.
But I'm really stubborn, and I kept applying. I kept filling the form and applying for the next 2 hours, just wishing that like someone like would just turn the visa down, or there was a mistake with someone. And eventually 2 hours later, this was like literally 2 a.m. in the morning. Like somehow it went through, and I got the visa. So it was quite a challenge to get here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that was the sabbatical year, like learning. I did all these mastering CGI videos, these tutorials, and I went through all of them. I was learning a lot, and it was kind of like having this. Like, what do I need now? I want to showcase like product visualization, so I need to know how to light a product properly and things like that. So I learned a lot during that year. It was really useful, and eventually that portfolio got me a job down in Nelson, here in New Zealand, as an architectural visualization.
And do you want to explain what that is a little bit, because we probably haven't talked about that much on here?
Architectural visualization.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So the main things, the main use of it is when architectural firms are building a new building. But it's not built yet, but they need to sell it before it's built, or at least they need to show it to the clients to attract attention and to make sure that they can keep going, make sure that they have the funds to do it. So in order to do that, they need images, like proper images of the buildings, and both like exteriors and interiors depending on the project. So that's where 3D artists come in, because we can create something that is not real yet, and we can make it look quite real.
Hyper real.
Good point. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And also for these kind of like architectural contests where like just
applying for big, either like pitching for big jobs or trying to win contests for the nicest thing on a mountain or something.
Yeah. which give the architecture firms a bit of clout, don't they? Really, winning competitions.
But but they're never really stylistic images, are they? They're always trying to make the thing look as real and tangible as possible.
Yeah.
To try and convince people that this is a thing. It's going to look exactly like this when it's done. You should buy it now. Yeah.
I've met so many people, like, since I work in that industry, saying that, oh wait, but this is not built already. Like, this is not a photo of the actual thing. Like, if you wait 3 years for the building to be built, it might be, but I
find that so interesting too, because our earlier renders, because we're doing a very similar thing at the moment with architecture visualization, but even say a year ago when our images were way less real than they are now, you'd still get people saying, whoa, is that not a photo? And like us looking at that now, we're like, that looks garbage. Like there's no way that's a photo.
But then I suppose for people who don't really, care or understand about it, like how else would it be made? You know what I mean?
True.
Just don't understand it, and also they're just getting so good now. Like it is some pictures are just like, even if with a trained eye or whatever, you're just like, is that real? And then you just go insane, like, no, it's render. You're like, no, it is real. Oh, I don't know.
Sometimes I can't even tell.
No.
It hasn't gotten to that point that it's just, like, it can be, like, sometimes a good photo looks, like, less real than a good render. Like, that's insane. Like, we're at that point that a photographer makes something look less real than a 3D artist. Like, what's going on?
Bizarre, right? So how long were you there doing that?
Down in Nelson, I worked there for almost 1 year.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and it was cool because it was the first time that I was working in that field properly. Because I started doing like 3D visualization with the furniture thing, but it was really kind of like on my own, just learning and trying to do.
So there wasn't a part of that company that did visualization. It was just you who
they didn't do it until I came to the company.
Right.
So before that, they used to do like actual photography of the product. And they thought like it was mainly a reason, like the main reason was speeding up the process of the catalog, because usually you don't have the product, like the final product.
Once again, it's selling off the plans, right? So it's always trying to sell something before it exists.
Exactly. That was it. And I actually struggled a lot at the beginning with the morals of it, because they always wanted to hide all the bad details of the product, like things that are actually wrong, or like things that maybe you're seeing a chair and you can see a part in the legs that you wouldn't want to see. So in the images we get rid of them, and I was struggling a lot with that kind of like moral.
The lies.
So that applies also to the architectural part later, So I did that for almost 1 year down in Nelson, and I learned a lot.
That's cool. And then I guess then you got the job at Weta, and here we are, I suppose.
That's pretty much it.
But that's so interesting about the power we have to kind of change with Photoshop and things like that, like the ability we have to stretch the truth or make things a little bit more real than it really is, isn't it? And as soon as you have the license to do that, basically the sky's the limit. And you see that with clients as well, don't you? That as soon as they know your capabilities, or they know like, oh, what, you can get rid of that? Oh, or you can hide that? Oh, great, do that. And then, then they know that basically anything is possible, and you start getting these images that, you're eliminating all the flaws, and they're becoming quite idealistic almost, aren't they?
Yeah, true.
I mean, it's the same for product photography as well as you get rid of the nasty part lines or things where things don't meet, and you can just smudges you can do like that.
I suppose the thing is like because obviously at a point it becomes fraud, and it's illegal. You know what I mean? But like, you probably have to go pretty far to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder and also when, maybe it's just assumed now that people, when you buy an iPhone or, anything, headphones or whatever, it's like, oh, cool, there's a picture of it, it looks like perfect and amazing. When you buy it, it's not going to be there. And I guess, is it the same with a house? I don't know. you know, if you
That's
saw
a
a
good
house and you're
point.
like, oh, this looks beautiful, and then you get your render up or you've got your made, and you're like, oh, this isn't the same.
That pot plant was not there.
Do it again.
I reckon it can get to the point of fraud. For example, if it's about the view that you have from the house.
Yeah.
I imagine if you are like showcasing the living room and you have like a huge balcony and you see the views, and not saying that this has happened.
No,
But
never.
never. Kind of. But imagine that in reality there is like a tree blocking part of the view.
Yeah.
You don't put the tree in the render because
Yeah.
it's like
It looks
like
bad.
the
Who would wanna
client
buy that?
doesn't want you to put the tree there
Yeah.
because they're clients. So they're our client being the architectural firm.
Yeah.
They don't want to show those details, those things that can lead to their client to refuse to reject the house or things like that.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to make up things that are even
Yeah.
or that are not there or that are there and you need to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And that's like if I buy a house and I feel like, oh, that view is amazing. That view is I really like. I imagine myself in the balcony just reading a book and just having that view. And then you get there and you have a tree blocking everything. I would be so pissed off.
Yeah.
I reckon like I would definitely sue them. So
Yeah.
I don't know what's the limit there.
Yeah. I mean, because I guess there's all sorts of things. I guess you look at the burger menu at McDonald's and it's just like no burger even looks the same as the beautiful burger on top of there. And of course you're not going to sue them for that, although some people will be angry. But yeah, I mean, is it always what you see, what you get? I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose it's the thing. It's like it's not really like, as you say, like we are, the architect is our client as a visualization artist or a visualization company. So it is the architect's responsibility to represent their design truthfully, not yours, because you're just representing what they're telling you to represent. You know what I mean? So it's not really your, don't say problem, but you know what I mean. It's not your decision or responsibility to do that. And I'm sure. Because back in the day, people would have just drawn sketches, and the same thing would have happened. People would have pushed perspective and muddled with things to represent it how they wanted to, or fade things out, or whatever. So it's probably a problem that's been around for.
But I guess like the difference with like a sort of a stylistic sketch or something is that people know it's abstracted.
Yeah.
People know that you aren't actually deceiving people that this thing is real. You know, like because there just are many people who will see the renders on the adverts for a lot of these houses and think, oh, this is a real thing.
Yeah.
I guess
actually in all the websites, whenever they publish a render instead of an image, they put the subtitle of artist in present. So they I think they are legally required
to do that.
to put that on below the image, because otherwise it would be like false advertisement.
Yeah.
And even for the brochures, like I remember we were working on this like retirement village or whatever, and they had like this brochure showing everything to the people who wanted to move there, and every single image had to put the artist in present underneath it, just to make them realize that it's not 100% real.
It's gonna be.
And I had a funny case of the client thing, like wanting way too much of a single image, and it was a nightmare because eventually we ended up having two different suns in the image, in the same one.
Yeah.
So the sun was coming from two different angles because he wanted to see everything in one image and just like showing like both balconies at the same time, light it up with the sun.
Yeah.
And that's so that's that's fake, completely fake. That's doesn't even look good.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes that's what they want, and sometimes that's what the client appreciates more. Like instead of like seeing a dark part of the image, just light it up, put another sun sometimes.
Yeah, because it's actually like there's another type of visualization which is like visualization for like to getting consent for like building. So people will do impressions of what your new building would look like in Wellington's cityscape or whatever, and it has to be as realistic as possible because that's what the council's looking at to say, oh yeah, this building's not going to impeach on these people's views too much, or it's not going to be against the feel of the city. So I think you know, they have to be really realistic and like be an accurate representation of what it's going to be. But I suppose from the architect, like doing the interior shot, like they're just trying to represent the idea of the design the best they can. You know, they're trying to highlight what design features they've made, which, you know, are appealing to the client. So I suppose it's like two different markets for it a little bit.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. When it comes to the government, you've got to be really strict, but when you can sell anything to a customer or let you show anything to a customer. Yeah,
because it's more like the idea of it. I suppose the government is about how it's going to affect other people, not just the client. You know.
And it might be helpful too, because I mean, with that one in particular, you're required to match the. Let's say if they're using a real camera, they will survey where the camera is, what the ratio, the focal length, and everything, and you have to match that directly in your 3D software. And take it from the exact same angle and project exactly where it's going to be. Yeah. Of course you don't have to do that for these, but I thought it's probably worth mentioning how we create these images, like just in a more basic way, isn't it? Because basically we are using a 3D software, so whenever you're sort of creating 3D models as they do for any product, or architects do for any house or commercial building, you are building it all digitally as a 3D model, and then from that putting in lighting. So you're saying, I want the sun from over here, and some lights in the building or whatever it might be, and then you are putting that into a rendering program, and that essentially calculates what that 3D model is going to look like with that lighting projected onto it. And so like that gives you sort of a base image to work with, and then you might go into something like Photoshop and start enhancing things, like be it the exposure, the contrast on certain bits, put some more plants out the front, whatever you might be that you missed in the 3D software, you can then touch up in sort of post-production.
Yeah, I think it's a similar analogy to a photographer and how that,
so
the renderer is taking the photo, and then the Photoshop is just post-processing, just like any, photographer would do, But yeah, I mean, this thing as well is like it's, as computer technology has been increasing and getting better and better, like we are getting to the point where, accurate light simulation is, for a start, there's lots of industries that are built on that technology advancing. So, like just trying to imitate realism. So the gaming industry is a big one, a multi-billion-dollar industry, the biggest entertainment industry in the world, has heaps of engineering firepower trying to calculate the best, most accurate light representation to make the most realistic game. So now visualization is piggybacking on that technological advance to push forward visualization technology and like architectural visualization. So I think without the gaming industry, I mean, obviously like Unreal stuff wouldn't exist, but even V-Ray and things, I don't think will quite be where they are, because there's not the economic incentive to represent a house perfectly, but there is in other industries.
And actually I think, I'm not sure if that's the exact case, but with Unreal, they didn't expect people to work in architectural visualization, for example. So now that the people are working with that, they don't charge the same price as they do for like game developers or game developers mainly, because they are they are different worlds, and they didn't expect that at the beginning. So when you create a game, you sell the game, and Unreal gets a percentage of it or whatever. But when you create a visualization, you are not selling the visualization. You are selling the time that you've spent on that visualization, kind of. So they had to create a new system for that, because they didn't even expect that world to be like to collide with the video game system. And it's true, like right now it's becoming insanely real what you can do in real time, like in just like a video game technology with the rendering engine, like with much better render quality than what renders used to look like in like 3 years ago, maybe.
Probably,
And it's real time, like you can move around, you can create a new angle, you can do everything.
That's what actually impresses, because I mean games, when coming from a visualization, like coming from our background and figuring out how hard it is to make a beautiful image, in your visualization software, when you see games and like just thinking about how amazing. Firstly, they look so realistic, but then obviously you're moving through these super complicated environments, and then there's effects, there's guns, there's explosions, there's sounds, there's characters, there's animation, all that, and then also it's all almost real. It's mind blowing how impressive those things are to build, and that's why they cost so much money. Because this is a great game or whatever. It's just so much time and effort and energy, and the optimization I think is also really impressive because we have powerful hardware rendering these one image, but these games you're just playing through on a PlayStation, which whatever is a decent computer, but it just looks so beautiful as well. The way that they do that is really impressive.
And it's the sort of thing too, with our, once we were talking about it before with that one of Build Media's projects. But once you have your lighting, you have a few skies that you use. All of our images take place in the real world. With once you've established your lighting and you've got a few things like a street lamp and a post office box and things like that. You're going to use those a lot over and again, but all these games involve things on alien planets that need to have, every scene might be different with different lighting, different assets, different characters, whatever it might be. It's it's very rare that you could probably use the same thing twice in two different games. Everything has to be custom built.
It's kind of like a film.
Yeah.
Because in the end, it's like a film with digital actors and
that's so true. Yeah.
A person that is actually moving them.
I mean, a film. To be fair, speaking of the film, the film industry is another obviously Goliath industry, which has been pushing, visual effects, which is all. It's all the same technology, just different pipelines to get different outcomes. Really, I mean, do they render films with V-Ray? Do they use V-Ray to render film shots? I think they maybe do.
Some of them, yeah.
I think they do. So that's the same sort of
Chaos Group was, I think, was related to Weta Digital at some point.
Yeah.
Doing something together.
Okay.
So I recommend.
Even film. So obviously the money coming from that then powers. It's all the same. It's just it's kind of weird. I don't know if you ever you don't remember classics when they would draw the pots and it was always trying to imitate, the drawings would get better and better trying to imitate realism. Was the point of classical art was trying to make the most realistic human form, and you see that early pots were the people just janky, shitty people, and then at the end they're oh wow, this is looks like a really good person, and then from that they went to hyperreal where they would make people that look better than real people. Some of their statues, the proportions are actually more beautiful than what a human form is. And that kind of reminds me of what we're doing now, where computer graphics was trying to get better and better and better, and it gets to a point where you're this is real, and now are we going into the hyperreal where we're making things that are actually look better than reality? You know what I mean? And also I do think as well as especially with films, when you watch a film at the time you're wow, this is completely convincing that this is real, but then as soon as you go back and watch an old film you're this doesn't look this is not real at all. This is terrible. So I do wonder as well do we only get perspective once we've kind of surpassed what we're at now? You know what I mean?
Actually, I wonder, for example, in art history in general, people when art became so real that it couldn't be improved, it's when abstraction came in.
Yeah.
I wonder if that could be applicable to this kind of visualization in the future.
Yeah.
It's a bit tricky because the client needs to see the real thing, but for the point of view of an artist, it's kind of boring not being able to get better or not
do anything new.
Yeah, doing anything new, and if you are going to showcase your work in a website or in a magazine or whatever, if everyone has the same level eventually, if everyone is top notch, doing absolutely real stuff, I wonder if it will go to some kind of abstraction or some kind of showing buildings or in the most minimalistic way or things like that.
Yeah, I mean we've definitely had this. We've had this discussion as what we're doing, because I think you're right. I think we are. It definitely feels like we're reaching that point where photorealism, or basically photorealism, is becoming just widespread and pretty affordable. You can get renders overseas that if it's the right kind of project, people can produce like photorealistic images for $300 or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think we are getting to that ceiling where that's that is like, yeah, everyone can achieve that level. So what's the difference between this one and that one and all these different images? And yeah, I think you're right. Like, there's got to be something else where people are going to try and represent things in a different way or an interesting way. And yeah,
I think like that too is. I think you'll start to see. I mean, we've all kind of faced the issue of people not really appreciating the time it takes to create these images.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's similar to the appreciation a wedding photographer lacks as well.
Yeah.
Because like from what people see, people are just they're just taking a picture, they're clicking a button. It's like, how hard can that be? And he's so expensive per hour. Or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, this I think it's why it's so hard to get a
100%.
photographer. But I mean, we know how hard photography is, like to get right, and just how much you have to know.
Yeah.
But I wonder, as soon as we start to introduce that abstraction back into it, and like you see it on LinkedIn, there's the sort of architectural illustrations versus the renders. Everyone will look at the arguably basic architectural illustrations and say, wow, that is amazing.
Yeah.
You are so talented. And when we look at like, we could do that. It's so much easier than what we do. Like that's just that's just a half hour in Illustrator or whatever it might be. Okay, this is an exaggeration, but I wonder, as soon as we start to get that authorship or that artistry back into like those images, I wonder if there'd be more appreciation for that as well.
Actually, do you know who this brings to mind is, I don't know if you follow that Instagram account called Beeble.
Oh yeah, everyday
visualizations. He's a guy who does those like crazy animations of like Trump and stuff like. And
the guy is nuts.
He is insane, but he's really talented, and also his images have like a really beautiful artistry to them. So like, I'm not sure how he does that. I'm not sure it's some filter setting or whatever post-processing setting, but it produces a really painterly finish on a lot of his still images. And I was thinking like that. He's managed to nail this like aesthetic where it is a style, and like there are a few artists out there render artists, digital artists who have done that. They do have a look,
and it's very rare, isn't it? I mean, like you look at a Van Gogh and it's like, that's a Van Gogh. But when do you ever look at an architectural render and think, oh, that's a Dreambox render, or that's whatever? Because they
actually,
are.
Yeah, when I was working in Nelson at the Miles Montgomery company, we reached the point that we had like few references, few companies as a reference, because you could tell so easily the style of each of them. Yeah. And it might be just like the post production that they have, the kind of the color palette that they use in the renders, but you could really tell which one, like just by looking at the image, which company had made that image. Yeah. It was that kind of style, and for like we were trying to find that style as well. Like we were trying to kind of like have the best as a reference and trying to find our own style at the same time. Yeah. But it's true, like you can, if you take the 5 best companies of visualization and you shuffle random images from them, I think once you know them, it's pretty easy to tell which one is from which. Because they are, in the end, we are artists. Like we've got your toolkits, right? Yeah. So it's not like I don't know. It's not just like going with a phone, take a photo, and that's the image. Like it's taking a photo, but then editing that photo in that way that you think it looks better. And there are not 2 artists that think the same way in that kind of editing. So it's really interesting. So it's like you do become like sort of connoisseurs of like the render world, and that you can like tell that there's
and like what renderer it comes from is another one. Like you can quite easily tell if it's Corona versus V-Ray versus Unreal versus whatever. But it's like so subtle, but this is something the way that the light works. But
but that's the thing. Also, sorry, because we know that because we work in the industry. But those images in the end are focused for people who doesn't know anything about this industry. No. So they need in the end like the target of those photos or images is to sell the product to people who have no idea how that photo has been taken or how that image has been made. So they don't think about that kind of process. They only think if it looks good, if it's if it draws the attention and things like that. And also I feel like it depends a lot on the context the paradigm of the time of the images, because if a person sees something, it's like a photography. If like a photo 10 years ago, a great photo of 10 years ago, it's probably not that good nowadays because photo has improved a lot, and I feel like people want to, like, we have so many references that the client needs to see something that is adapted to the current reference of imaging. So if they see a render from 10 years ago, they wouldn't want it because it was shit.
Yeah.
But 10 years ago they would have bought it. So it's a bit of like putting yourself in the mind of the client instead of the mind of the artist sometimes, and see what he's actually going to appreciate from that image, and he's gonna compare it to your, like, to what he sees every day on the TV, on the films, or the quality of film, of photography that the films have, and things like that. And it's kind of like the need of adapting yourself to the current state of imagery in general, like everything. Like we have so many like so many dispositives now that we see images on, that you kind of need to adapt to those situations just for the client.
No, and it needs to be familiar yet unique almost, isn't it? It's like not strange enough that it's just like, oh, what's this? But it's enough.
You can't push the envelope too far, or else you lose it.
I think like Spider-Man is the Spideyverse. You know, that owns that film. I don't know. It's like, it's a really good example of that. You know, it's like it's a familiar animation style that, well, it's not. The style is unique and great, but it is still tangible. You know,
there's all familiar elements within. Yeah,
that's a really good example of like someone pushing the envelope and really like using that art style to their advantage. Like,
but I think that's part of. I think why it's so important to have your own style, because as soon as you have your own style that is recognized by the public, then people come to you and say, you know, I want a Van Gogh.
Yeah.
And they're not going to expect the Mona Lisa. They're going to expect something in Van Gogh's style, you know, and they're going to give you the artistic license.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm not going to tell you how to do the Van Gogh style. Yeah. Like, I just want one of your works and stuff like that. But
problem with that, from the artist's point of view, is that Van Gogh, like, when he was alive, he was not popular at all. He didn't sell anything. Not sure if we really want to be like Van Gogh.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's so true.
I would like to enjoy
be popular in 120 years.
I would like to enjoy the income of it when I'm alive.
Fair enough. It's very selfish of you, Jorge.
I mean, it's like you know, any architecture for, you know, Foster and Partners. People go to Foster and Partners because they have a style. They do it that way, and that's where people go. You know, it's any creative industry really. You know, Weta, people go to Weta because they do it a certain way, and they're not going to ask Weta to make things like how, I don't know, some Chinese factory does.
You know, but I think, I don't know if Weta do have a style really either, because so much of the style does come from the directors that have seen all these other films and say, I want something that's similar to Ghost in the Shell but has elements of whatever.
But I guess the way in which they construct the quality in which they do things at, you know, that sort of thing. It's not like necessarily a visual style, but it's a, you know, it's a brand identity, I guess. You know what I mean? That's what, you know, arguably an artist's style is, you know, like an artist's value is, you know, tied to its, like, you know,
brand identity.
How much is worth it, the fact that artist started and not, that's, you know, the whole argument of like, oh, it's easy, anyone can do that, but, you know, you didn't, and also you're not that artist. So
no, that's very
you
true,
know, it's the same with visualization. Actually, very the same. You know.
Yeah.
You know, there's some company that no one knows about, and wherever in the world does it, you know, makes an identical image to, you know, Build Media or any of these companies. It's not worth as much as if Build Media did it. And like, it's that's just kind of the essence of the creative pursuit, potentially. I don't know.
Yes. As we gaze into the future. But you know, anything else, guys?
No,
it's a pretty good place to leave it, probably.
Yeah. That's
great. No, it's good. Okay. So thanks for joining us. I suppose we will come up with episode 18 next week, and who knows who we're going to have on. I don't. There's not exactly a queue of people lining up.
There's a massive queue.
Sorry, there's a massive queue, so we're just going to.
Okay, no on.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us, guys.
Cheers. Bye.